Welcome to Newslaundry Chhota Hafta. For the full episode, subscribe because it is behind the paywall and only subscribers get access to uncut, complete content. Newslaundry Hafta is our weekly wrap of all that made the news, all that didn't, and all that should have and all that shouldn't have. We agree, we disagree, we critique, and occasionally we beat each other up. But it's all good fun. Subscribe.
This is a Newslaundry podcast and you're listening to NL Hafta.
अंग्रेज अपना लगान और न्यूज़ लॉन्ड्री अपना हफ्ता कभी नहीं छोड़ते. Welcome to another episode of Hafta from a pretty scorching Delhi, quite early in May. No, we're in April, sorry. But May will be a real toaster if this is how it's going to be. But we're inside a cool new studio, which has been financed in a large part by you wonderful subscribers. So keep those funds coming in because we need to increase our team and get a lot more shows going. Many of you have written in with a certain dissatisfaction with the amount of podcasts and the frequency of Let's Talk About. So we want to do that like at least 2 a month and then make it weekly. We need more producers and a little more personnel for that. So do contribute. Go to newslaundry.com, click on the subscribe button and pay to keep news free. Before Manisha gives us the headlines, let us give you the panel. On the panel in the studio today are Raman Kirpal. Hi Raman sir.
Hi.
Manisha Pande.
Hello.
Joining us on the phone line is Anand. Anand, where are you? Chandigarh.
A lot is happening on the IAS front. No?
Clearly. So Anand is in...
are you part of any panel, Anand? Interview panel?
Yes, means in coaching, I am part of a panel because UPSC interviews are going on.
Right.
I see. So you coach people in that?
Means interview taking skills, yes.
I see. And also joining us on the phone line is Abhilash Khandekar. Hi Abhilash.
Hi, how are you?
Very well. How are you?
Thank you and welcome to all the panelists.
Thank you. And where are you joining us from, Abhilash?
I'm joining you from Bhopal, which is the capital of Madhya Pradesh. I'm a journalist and I have been national political editor of Dainik Bhaskar. I have worked with Hindustan Times and have done about 37 years in journalism.
Great.
So I did not have to introduce Abhilash since he did everything on his own. But other than that, he is also the author of the book, The Scindia Legacy. And you are the current president of the Madhya Pradesh Cricket Association?
Yes, I am.
I see. Thank you. Also joining us on the phone line in another half an hour will be Michael Kugelman. Michael is the Deputy Director of the Asia Program and is a leading specialist on Afghanistan, India and Pakistan and their relation with the United States. He is a writer for foreign policy. He's written for the New York Times, Foreign Affairs, and he has written on topics from the US policy to food security. So looking forward to that because of all sorts of statements made by Imran Khan, then by his successor, then by Jai Shankar today. So all sorts of stuff happening. But before we get into the discussion, let's have the headlines which Manisha shall give us.
It's Ambedkar Jayanti today as we record, and there's a race on to appropriate his legacy. So Prime Minister Narendra Modi has inaugurated Pradhan Mantri Sangrahalaya. This is a gallery, 43 galleries are going to be there in it. The Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu, M.K. Stalin, announced that on this 131st birth anniversary of B.R. Ambedkar, from today on, this day will be declared as Equality Day. Former Congress President Rahul Gandhi released a book, The Dalit Truth, The Battle for Realizing Ambedkar's Vision. This was last Saturday. And Kejriwal inaugurated a home for the elderly, which will also be called Ambedkar. Will be named after Ambedkar.
And they've also announced today that they'll be naming that sports facility after Ambedkar, right? Or was it sports college or there was a college? There was a
Sports university.
Okay.
But there is a story behind it, so we are working on that story.
I see. So
the university hasn't
kicked off yet. But we shall start off today with Jai Bhim. Yes.
It's been a tense past 1 week. You've had communal clashes breaking out in Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh, Jharkhand, West Bengal during Ram Navami celebrations. In Khargaon in Madhya Pradesh, at least 10 houses were set ablaze. Lots of people were injured, including a superintendent of police. And within 24 hours of the violence, a demolition drive took place in Khargaon where shops in that area were bulldozed, houses were bulldozed. One of the houses, in fact, as an Indian Express report tells us, was built in the PM Awas Yojana. So we should discuss a lot about...
There was not one, there were many.
Many. One of the houses, they had profile.
Yeah.
So we can discuss that. Violence also broke out in JNU. JNU was in news after a while. This is a clash between the Left Student Union and the ABVP. This was over chicken eating or not eating. And of course, contesting versions have come from both sides. Tejasvi Surya was detained by Rajasthan police en route to Karoli. Karoli made it to headlines last week for communal clashes. And Tejasvi said that Congress is a modern day Muslim League after cops stopped him. Meanwhile, Shiv Sena has said that the BJP's selfish, hollow Hindutva is creating pre-partition like atmosphere. Raj Thackeray has also gotten activated. He's given Shiv Sena an ultimatum and said that by May 3rd, loudspeakers should be removed from mosques. Otherwise, they'll play Hanuman Chalisa with speakers near mosques. At Dwarka farmhouse in Delhi, a man was killed on suspicion of cow slaughter. This guy is called Raja Ram. He was 40. The police has so far arrested 5 men for alleged cow slaughter, but there have been no arrests in the murder and assault case.
There's not even an FIR at the moment. The police say once they identify the culprits, then they will fire an FIR.
Wow, okay.
The fourth 2+2 dialogue between India and United States took place in Washington, D.C. on April 12th. India and US agreed to differ on Ukraine war. The US also released a report flagging significant human rights issues in India. Imran Khan lost his no-confidence vote last week. He's accused Washington of meddling. Shahbaz Sharif, in his inaugural speech on Monday, raised the issue of abrogation of Article 370 in Kashmir. He's the new caretaker PM. Karnataka contractor who accused Ishwarappa of corruption was found dead. There's a suicide note that names the minister. And despite being booked for abetment of suicide over the death of a civil contractor on Tuesday, E.S. Ishwarappa has refused to step down. A lot of commotion in Karnataka over this. Congress gherawed Karnataka CM Basavaraj Bommai's house and launched protests. There was a roadway mishap in Jharkhand, a cable car accident that took place on April 10th. It led to 48 people being stranded mid-air and 3 people died during the rescue operations.
Right. So before I start on the discussion, I just had one announcement. As you've heard, your long-time Hafta listeners and Newslaundry subscribers, about us restructuring in a way that is going to be completely new, how media companies are structured and owned. So what I needed was, we have a Friends of Newslaundry list. Many of you lawyers are there. In fact, some of you have advised us and consulted with us on advising me on the way forward for NFTs. One of you is actually drafting out some of our, what we're going to court with, which have also come from subscribers, lawyers. I'm looking for, among our subscribers, if any of you is a chartered accountant and a lawyer who specializes in company structuring. So that is something that I would like to spend the next 2 months actually finalizing. And if you can do it collaboratively, because Newslaundry is a collaborative effort, I want it going forward to be a collaborative kind of structure as well. So if even the process of that structuring is a collaborative one with you subscribers, it'll be great. So if any of you is a chartered accountant or has one in the family who understands company structuring and a lawyer in the same field, do write to me at Abhinandan Sekhri at newslaundry.com. I repeat, Abhinandan Sekhri at newslaundry.com. Or you can also write at subscription at newslaundry.com. In the subject line, please write NL structuring. And I would like to get on a couple of calls with you guys and figure out how we can make this happen most efficiently, quickly, and productively, so that it remains an independent news organization long after we're all gone. On that note, is this sudden spurt of violence around Ram Navami and Ram Navami being celebrated through processions, which is not how I remember it as a child, but maybe I'm wrong. Does anyone here see it as a new occurrence, or do you see it as old occurrences that are being brought forth more?
What is happening is that what we saw in Uttar Pradesh, now that has now come to Madhya Pradesh also, where bulldozer politics is taking over everything. If there is a person who has apparently offended the law or has done something, so the state government has given a blanket order kind of thing to deal with the criminals, so-called criminals. So the criminals, in the sense whether they are accused or they have been certified as criminal by court of law, nobody is going to go into the details.
My experience is that it's a kind of hedgehogs living together. And hedgehogs, when they live together in economic activities or other kind of intermingling, like in a cold night, they may come together or for economic gains, but then they get prickly in shared space. And the prickliness in a shared space may be of 2 or 4 people, but then they strike a safe distance of coexistence. And when that shared space and the terms of social contract and that shared living is infringed with, say, provocations or violence from the other side or whatever, this becomes tense. And that has been part of the communal geography in India, the distribution of a space and how things work. So it can be seen through the hedgehog theory.
Clashes are not new, like Anand said. You've always heard of clashes around such processions. Muharram also often makes it to news because of clashes. But I think what is definitely new over the past few years, at least, to have so many videos come out with, there's one video in Bihar where these boys are climbing atop a mosque and putting a Bhagwa flag. Now, luckily, there was no communal flare-up after that and there were arrests made. But this sort of an assertion during, a religious rally or DJ music like, Mia MC hai, that song playing.
Right.
This is not something that I've, been accustomed to or been used to. And I think what does happen is that now we don't know the flare-up in MP. What exactly is the flashpoint? Hindus say that we were stone-pelted. Muslims are saying that there was loud music and there were provocative music. No one has really come to as it is in these cases, we don't know. But I think what definitely does happen, even because you brought up social media, is that today a Muslim living in Madhya Pradesh is not isolated from the events of Bihar, Koderma or wherever. So when they see videos like this coming in, of men going on a rampage with, on a bike or planting a bhagwa, I think there's already an apprehension and a readiness for a fight.
I think there is so much identity crisis in our society. The people don't have job. There's so much of identity crisis. So these people reassert, their identity through this religion, and these are the ones who are mostly involved in this. So yes, technology has really made it big. So you
viral,
see,
as they say. It spreads like a virus.
Yes.
An extremely interesting time for this region, so I'm sure your expertise are much sought after these days. Let's begin with Pakistan. With this, Imran Khan's rather brash comments about him being ousted because of a sinister plot by America. Do these statements by Imran Khan, does it have any significant impact on the foreign relations?
During his last few weeks, really his last few months in office, Imran Khan had resorted to increasingly shrill and strident criticism of the West, including the United States. And certainly that did have implications for Pakistan's relations with that part of the world, which is indeed a key trade partner of Pakistan. Now, of course, now that Imran Khan is no longer in office, the new government or the new prime minister, Shahbaz Sharif, has suggested that Pakistan's relations with the United States and the broader Western region do really matter a big deal. And he suggested there's going to be efforts to repair any loss or any damage to those relations.
Could you just elaborate on what India, US are to each other, and are alliances at all the same of what they used to be?
And I think it depends on whose perspective you're trying to get. In terms of a U.S. perspective, I really don't think that the notion of alliance from a normative perspective has changed at all. I mean, the expectations have not changed. And I think that Donald Trump's view was certainly an exceptional view. It was an anomaly, just because for many decades, there'd been bipartisan support here in Washington for the types of alliances that have endured for a century or more. And so that's why when President Trump indicated that he had no compunction about tearing up the NATO alliance or imperiling U.S. relations with its treaty allies in Asia, that attracted a lot of concern within both political parties.
The U.S. interests are very palpable here. Like it is trying to make India align with its side. Also, India not towing the line on sanctions means that in Asia, only three major countries, say Japan, South Korea, and Singapore, are with their sanctions. So it weakens the sanction regime. And also, the US strategically thinks that after the Cold War period, India had come close to it. It had major partnerships with it, but this major power competition was never tested because India's traditional ties with Russia was never tested in this period.
All of you listening in, the Chhota Hafta, do subscribe so you can listen to the entire Hafta. We will see you again next week with the Hafta. Till then, subscribe, pay to keep news free, because when the public pays, the public is served. When advertisers pay, advertisers are served. Thank you. Goodbye.
All the News Laundry podcasts are available on Stitcher, iTunes, and any other podcast platform.
Please subscribe to Newslaundry. Help us keep news independent. To catch all our podcasts on news, pop culture, current affairs, and sport, visit newslaundry.com. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. सुन लिया अफ्रीका मुफत खोरों? Not to brag or anything, but Newslaundry Hafta features in the top 50 in the world on SoundCloud in the news and politics category for podcasts. So do subscribe and see what you're missing, because when the public pays, the public is served. When advertisers pay, advertisers are served. Subscribe, help keep news independent and free. All Newslaundry podcasts are available on iTunes and Stitcher and any other podcast platform.